Justice was served over the weekend as a man by the name of Daniel Holtzclaw was sentenced to 236 years in jail on 18 of 36 counts of sexual assault. You see, Daniel Holtzclaw is a former police officer in Oklahoma City. He used his position of power to threaten these women who had criminal records into allowing him to sexually assault them on the grounds of fear that they wouldn't be taken seriously. And then one night Daniel chose the wrong woman to fuck with. Now, by June last year, Holtzclaw had already racked up a large number of victims on his serial raping spree. Then one night, he tried his usual bullshit on a 57-year-old grandmother by the name of Jenny Liggins. Unlike these other women, Jenny Liggins didn't have a criminal record. After she was raped, Jenny Liggins went straight to her family's house, where she called the police. One of Holtzclaw's rape victims had gone to the police prior to her. And once these stories had been put together and the police realised that perhaps the rapes were carried out by the same person, the trap closed in on Daniel Holtzclaw, and Daniel Holtzclaw was arrested. He was then suspended and he was then brought to trial, where he was found guilty on 18 of those 36 charges. Now you see, the interesting thing to me is the way that Daniel Holtzclaw seems to think society works. Like the way he thinks society works. You see, his train of logic is quite similar to a lot of the social justice warrior logic I see on the internet. Except this arrogance that he could get away with whatever because he was a white man is eventually what did him in. He got complacent. He was arrogant. Going by the things the man does, he was clearly a sociopath. But you see, Holtzclaw's train of thought was, I'm a white man, I'm in a position of power. These are black women with criminal records. I can get away with whatever I want because I'm a policeman and because I'm a white man and they're black, and therefore they're simply victims there to be treated as such. He's a piece of shit. He is an actual piece of shit. And I've seen people saying that this is just another example of a policeman abusing his power. And that's not a fair statement, because that's not true. No one is nodding their head in agreement with this piece of shit. Not now, anyway. I'm willing to bet people that were wanting justice for Holtzclaw last year, or earlier this year when he got arrested, are fucking distancing themselves from him as much as they can. You see, here's a little bit of story time for you, right? I'm one of these kids. When I was younger, I was always taught that the job of a policeman was to serve and protect. I mean, hell, that's on the police cars of a lot of American cop cars, right? See, when I was young, I was always told that policemen were meant to be these ultimate heroes and whatever. They were the guys you turned to whenever someone did something wrong or broke the law, and the police would make everything right. And as I grew older, I realised, okay, I'm sort of seeing police as these superheroes that they aren't necessarily, but the role of a policeman is still to serve and protect. And I've known people that have gone on to be police officers. My cousin's a police officer, he's very good at his job. I've had friends from school that went on to become police officers, and they all followed that same train of thought of doing good, bringing justice to the world, bringing down scumbags like Daniel Holtzclaw. I doubt most cops would think that this type of evil would exist within their ranks. Sure, there are police that abuse their power. There are police that use their badge and use their position of power on society to abuse it like Daniel Holtzclaw has. I'm not doubting that. Any job has people that with a little bit of power let it go to their head. Shit, I worked in fast food for ages. We had people who thought they were king shit because they got to run a fucking KFC for a couple of hours every week. It happens in every job. Not to this degree, but it happens. But either way, this isn't fucking normal cop behaviour. Daniel Holtzclaw is an evil piece of shit. And this is fucking disgusting, and I feel for these women, because this man, well, some of these women had already destroyed their own lives, but this is just another sort of kick in the teeth for these ladies who don't have the most glamorous lives it is. Some of these women were drug dealers, some of them were drug addicts. One of them showed up to the court trial and tested positive PCP and marijuana. Having those in her system, there and then she was high on PCP when she showed up. Obviously, she doesn't make good life choices. But that's no excuse. That doesn't make her a victim. That doesn't make someone primed to be raped. Daniel Holtzclaw is an evil, evil piece of shit who is going to jail for a very long time. Daniel Holtzclaw deserved to have the book thrown at him. The good thing about this is, hopefully it means that more police officers who do abuse their power like this will get brought to justice. It means that the rope will tighten on police officers that abuse their power, and no one will look the other way just because someone's wearing a badge and carries a gun and dresses up in a police uniform. There are a lot of police officers out there who are fundamentally good people. I do believe that a lot of police do join the force to do good. But you will get your Daniel Holtzclaws who join the police force to abuse their powers as much as possible. The man's a rapist, the man's a racist, the man's a sociopath, the man has no remorse at all. When I was a little kid, I was always told that the police were heroes. The police always did what was right, and the police were the guys that bring the bad guys to justice. Well, in this case, one of these so-called good guys was a bad guy. In fact, he wasn't just a bad guy. He was one of the worst of the worst. Daniel Holtzclaw is a complete fucking scumbag. The guy's going to rot for a long, long time. I'm grateful for that. The thing is, if there is karma, if there is such a thing as karma, Daniel Holtzclaw is gonna feel its wrath. The fat cross-eyed douchebag crying on the stand isn't just because he's going to jail. It isn't just the length of time he's going to jail. It's because he knows what happens to cops in jail. You see, there's a hierarchy amongst prisoners in jail. Cops are somewhere along the bottom rung, slightly above sex offenders. Now, Daniel Holtzclaw happens to be both a cop and a sex offender, so he's right down on the very bottom rung. Daniel wasn't crying because he's going to jail. Daniel was crying because he knows that he's going to get exactly the same fucking thing that he did to all of these women happen to him. And if there's any karma out there, it's going to be by the biggest, blackest person in his local prison. Have fun in the showers, Danny boy. But the thing that indicates the lack of any moral character whatsoever within this piece of trash, it's not just the crimes he committed. Yes, those are a large factor, but there's also what Daniel Holtzclaw did after he was arrested for these crimes. You know, the Justice for the Claw or the Free the Claw hashtag he tried to get up and running on Facebook and Twitter. The Free Daniel Holtzclaw's Innocent groups on Facebook. The money people tried to raise to get him off. The fact that the fat bastard had the gall to break down and cry once the charges were read. The fact that he'd mouthed to the jury, "How could you do this to me?" when the sentence was read. The fact that the fat bastard's been placed on suicide watch. The man has no remorse. The only thing this fat fuck's sorry for is the fact he got caught, the fact he got tried, and the fact that an all-white jury sent him to jail for 263 years on 18 of 36 counts. Daniel Holtzclaw is going away for a long, long time. And those convicts in jail aren't going to be any kinder to him than he was to these ladies he victimized. Daniel Holtzclaw deserves nothing but the worst treatment from his fellow convicts in jail. It's nothing less than he deserves. I'm Damian Skyfire. Till next time.